is at stake. Wow. So is the Chief Rabbi expressing the feeling of Britain's Jewish community as a whole? Joining us now is Senior Rabbi at West London Synagogue, Baroness Neuberger. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us on the programme. What did you think when you read that article?
I thought it was very sad that he felt that he needed to write it. I think it's tragic that we're in this situation at the moment. I completely agree with him. And, you know, I represent a different section of the Jewish community. I agree with him. I think that the very top of the Labour Party has not dealt with the anti-Semitism that is creeping through the party. Not the whole party by any means, but creeping through the party.
But is it appropriate for religious leaders to sway public opinion ahead of a general election?
I think it is inappropriate for religious leaders to tell people how to vote. I think it is absolutely appropriate when a religious leader feels that their community is in some sense under attack, for them to say, we are under attack, think about it. And I think that's what he's saying. He's not telling people how to vote.
He's saying don't vote Labour, basically, isn't he, if you're Jewish?
I think he is saying think very hard about it. I don't think he is saying don't vote Labour, because he wouldn't say that and shouldn't say that, and I wouldn't say that either. But there are people who...
But that's the inference, isn't it, from what he's saying?
I think it's probably the inference, but it's not what he said. And I think it's important to say that it's not exactly what he said. But the important thing he's saying is, think about this. This is something of a moral crisis for our country. If a serious political party, the official opposition up till this point, has allowed this to fester and isn't dealing with the cases in the way that they say they are. And I think where I really agree with him is where he says they say they're dealing with it, but actually they're not.
But by saying what he said today and writing in, you know, one of our most renowned newspapers this morning, isn't he risking Jeremy Corbyn not winning and thus Boris Johnson finding himself in office, and he's, you know, according to some, an Islamophobe?
I completely accept about the accusations of Islamophobia within the Conservative Party. However, and I think it's really important to say this, nobody seems to be chasing Sajid Javid or other Muslim MPs out of the Conservative Party. We've seen Labour, Jewish women, Labour MPs, feeling that they have been terrorised, actually, taunted and terrorised within the Labour Party.
Terrorised is a strong word.
I'm using a strong word. They feel unsafe. I think that's really important to stress.
From whom?
From some people within the party. I don't know whether you have read the the tweets that have been targeted at Luciana Berger, who's now left, Louise Ellman, Ruth Smeeth, Margaret Hodge, but they are disgusting. I never thought I would have to read this sort of stuff. I wrote a book on anti-Semitism that meant that I did read it. It is disgusting and it is terrifying. Some people wishing them dead. I think that's terrorising, actually, and saying that that's, you know, that they shouldn't be alive, that it should have been one of them rather than Joe Cox. I mean, it's just disgusting, and there hasn't been. I think the point, and that's why I think the Chief Rabbi was right to intervene in a way that, you know, he never does. That Chief Rabbis don't. There hasn't been from the top. Oh my God, how terrifying and how terrible this is, and we will do all we can about it. They haven't.
Why do prominent members of the Jewish community remain within the Labour Party?
I think because they feel it's their natural home. I grew up in the Labour Party. Both my parents were passionate Labour members. They'd be turning in their graves now, but because that's the natural home of most, well, I don't know whether it's most, but it's a very large percentage of the Jewish population.
Saying, it doesn't offer the shelter
for
you that it once did.
So for a lot of people, they're just saying, can't be doing with that, but some are saying they're going to stay in and fight. And, you know, Margaret Hodge is a very good example of that. She's fought some of them off.
The Lord Levy as well.
Yes, and fine. You know, that is up to them.
Do you think it's these attacks, excuse me, I just wanted to do that, these attacks are mostly, well, we see they're mostly against women. I suppose my question is, why do you think that is? I did just mention one prominent male member of the Labour Party, but generally it does seem to be against women.
It seems to be against women, and there's a lot of trolling against women that isn't anything to do with anti-Semitism either.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely been targeted very much at women, and you can see that. Why is that? I can't go into the psychology of the people who are doing it. I don't know, but it is pretty unpleasant. It's been particularly unpleasant, I think, to be a Labour woman and Jewish MP. in the last 4 years. It's been awful.
Do you think that Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite?
I can't see what's in his heart. I don't know whether he is an anti-Semite or not. I only know that his behaviour and his lack of empathy over this makes me very worried about what his views are.
But you wouldn't go as far as to say he's
I wouldn't.
anti-Semitic?
No, because I don't know.
What do you as you know, the Labour Party is being investigated at the moment by the Equality Human Rights Commission. The only other party that was investigated was
the BNP.
Yeah, I'm sure our viewers know that as well, but just to underline it. Any thoughts on what they're presently investigating? They will come up with their results quite soon. Thoughts on that?
I don't know what they're going to find out. It's not really for us to decide what they're going to do. But what does worry me is in the Race and Faith manifesto that's coming out today, Labour say that they are going to ensure that the Equality and Human Rights Commission is truly independent. Well, I think that's a strange thing to say when you're being investigated by them, and I think it's a bit cynical, to put it mildly.
Are you still going to be able to vote Labour?
I can't vote, I'm a peer.